Well, Happy New Year, everyone. I did want to get more videos up kind of at the end of this year. I had a couple in the works, and they all failed spectacularly. The odds have not been stacked in my favor. I am also a little bit sick at the moment, so please bear with me. But I wanted to at least try to get this video out on the 31st. Whether or not it's going to get out on the 31st, I don't know. Maybe January 1st, but whatever. It's the New Year's time, and I realized that I haven't showed off my main rig at all in like 3 years, at least not on camera. I've done some like screen recordings with it before that have made it into videos, and I actually just recently upgraded it, and it is, without a doubt, by far the nicest my computer has ever been, and probably will be for several years because I'm probably not going to change much with it now. But I'm really happy with it, and I thought, you know what, why not? Let's just show it off because, I don't know, I think it's pretty neat. Let's hope I don't drop it, because that would be really tragic. Now I'm just going to go ahead and plug this in here and turn it on so you have at least something interesting to look at. And it is unfortunately Rainbow Vomit until it boots into Windows and loads up OpenRGB. I haven't found a way to actually have it preserve the settings, like in the BIOS. There probably is a way, but I don't know. I don't care enough to try to mess around with it. I just gotta log in with my password, and then it'll set it to the actual settings that I want. There we go. Alright, well that's about as good as I can get it to look like in this shot. I'll show some better shots of it with without all the lights on, probably actually hooked up down where I have it hooked up under my desk. But yeah, it looks pretty different from how you last saw it, which was a sleeper build, which actually, that case is right down here. Yeah, so a lot has changed with this system in the past like 3 years. It's gone through 3 different cases, this being the third and final one. So I figured we'd go over like a brief kind of history of what all has happened with this machine. So initially in that first video that I showed back in like 2019, I had just built it. It had a Ryzen 5 2600, box of which is up there. Had a B450 motherboard, 16 gigs of RAM, and an RX 480. And, you know, it was a pretty good machine, you know, at the time. It wasn't anything too impressive, you know, especially with the 480. I mean, it was 3 years old. I mean, 480 even now, still perfectly fine GPU, but, you know, it was what I could build at the time, and, you know, I had got a lot of use out of it. But I didn't stay with the sleeper config for very long, in that, what was it called? Chenburo, I think was the case brand. The case itself is really good for a retro build, and, you know, it wasn't bad for a sleeper build, but, you know, I just kind of got tired of the sleeper thing. I just didn't think it really made sense for what I wanted to go with. So I actually switched over to called the Pevia XQ Pack 3. It's that, like, weird white cube case that I actually built my PS5 into. And if you want to go see out that video there of us building very real, very legitimate PS5, the link's up in the top right. So I didn't stay in the Pevia case for very long either, mostly because the airflow is not the greatest in that case. It's kind of weird. You know, it works for, like, the PS5 thing that I'm doing in there, but not for higher performance of what I wanted. So I think it was Christmas 2019. I got this, which is a Cooler Master, I think Masterbox NR600. I believe there's also an NR400, which is an MATX version of this case. And this is a pretty nice case. I don't know if they still sell it. I think they do. I think it was around 70 bucks back when I got it as a gift, so I don't know what it goes for now. And unfortunately, by the time I did find out about this case, I was like, hey, that's actually a pretty good deal. They stopped selling the version with the 5 1/4 inch bay. There is a version of the MATX case that they still sell the 5 1/4 inch one, I think, at least. But the full ATX one, they stopped selling that even back then, which was very unfortunate, because I still have quite a lot of uses for optical drives. And yeah, I've just been rocking this case ever since 2019, and up to this point with this case, I hadn't really changed much of the hardware. Maybe I added a few hard drives or something, but, you know, aside from that, there wasn't really that much. I think the only thing I changed And for the life of me, I can't remember when this was. Maybe this was like mid-2020, but I actually upgraded from the RX 480 to a Zotac GTX 1660 Super. And you know, that was a nice little card, but I ended up selling it back in early 2021, just because I was like, you know what? The 480 does most of what I want it to do, and like the 1660 is not like dramatically faster. Like, it was faster, but like not enough to really justify keeping it. So I ended up selling it, and yes, this was during the GPU shortage, the early stages of it. I did not scalp it. I put the auction up at like $50 less than what I bought it for brand new, and it just happened to get a lot higher. That's all I'll say. It was not my fault. It was the people who bid on it's fault, so I feel that I am not, you know, morally wrong here. So I stuck with the RX 480. In fact, I actually kind of switched back and forth between the 480 and a 6 gig 1060 that I traded back and forth kind of with Goo for a little while. Then of course I did that cooler upgrade on the RX 480, and that helped out a lot. Yeah, I just kept the 480 in here for a while, and eventually it moved down to the PS5, which is just down there. You can't see it, but yeah, it's running there in the PS5, and it's been rocking it pretty well, I gotta say. For a 6-year-old GPU, that's probably the best $110 I ever spent, because it's still going strong, man. So that's the GPU lineage story. Jumping back a little bit to around, I say, May of 2021. With my job, I had a little bit of extra money, so I could afford to upgrade the system. Did I upgrade the GPU? No, I decided to upgrade the CPU and motherboard, and I ended up upgrading to a Ryzen 5 5600X, which the box of which is up there. And the motherboard I chose was the Asus X570 Prime, or it's like Prime X570-P or something like that. In hindsight, I probably should have went with like a B550 board, but gone like, you know, a higher end kind of board. This board isn't bad, it's just, maybe it's a little bit bare bones, but I mean, it's been working fine. I haven't had any issues with it at all, so yeah, I don't really have any complaints with it. Just, you know, logically looking at it, maybe I should have went with something different, but yeah, it's not a bad board by any means. And so yeah, that's what I still have. Still have the 5600X, still have the motherboard, and I also upgraded the RAM from 2666 megahertz to 16 gigs of the Team Group, T-Force, whatever it is, 3600 megahertz RAM, CL18. So yeah, okay, maybe it's not the best 3600 megahertz RAM. Probably should have went with like 32 with some better timings, but it is what it is. And I actually just recently upgraded it to 32 gigs with 2 extra sticks, so that's nice. This is actually the first time that my main computer has actually had all the RAM slots filled out. Well, there was one exception when I tried to use this dual socket machine for a little while, which maybe one day you'll hear about the woes of that. And then finally, I did upgrade the GPU, and it's right there. It's the Reference RX 6700 XT, and I finally figured, you know what, GPUs are getting kind of cheap right now because there was a huge flood of them on eBay from all of the crypto mining. I even got it with the original box. Now, why in the world would you buy the Reference card? Well, it was around the same price, maybe slightly more expensive, maybe like 10 bucks more than like a normal, well, like, you know, board partner 6700 XT. I just got it because, yeah, I think it looks cool. Now, the last time I did that with a AMD Reference card, which was the 480, that reference cooler actually like really sucked. This reference cooler actually doesn't, and really the only complaint is that they didn't put thermal pads on the back plate. However, this one apparently was already upgraded with thermal pads on the back plate, so I didn't even have to do that, which was pretty cool. I'm not sure if that was an AMD thing or if it was the previous owner who did that, but hey, it's nice. It actually helps with the VRAM temps by quite a bit. So yeah, I got the 6700 XT, and that's pretty much it aside from drives, which, let's go look at that right now. Okay, so it's going to be kind of hard to see the two M.2s. There's my secondary M.2 there, and the primary one is just under the GPU. Yeah, but those are two WD Black SN750s, so not the highest end ones, but they're still, I mean, they still pack quite a punch. They can do like 3,000 megabytes a second sequential, which is very, very impressive. I got these little heat sinks on them. They're not the greatest heat sinks, and yes, they are held on by 2 rubber bands and a zip tie each. Real good quality professional installation there. This is a 2 terabyte Crucial MX500, and this actually houses all of my YouTube videos and everything like that. This is the main drive I edit off of. Should they be on an NVMe drive, I don't think it would affect editing performance that much. I think the CPU would still be a bigger factor than my storage speed. Hey, it's a lot better than leaving them on a hard drive and editing off of that, which is what I used to do. And before we get to the back, where all of the cable management and everything is happening, and the hard drives, which are just down there, let's take a minute to look at the cooling setup that we got here. So if I just go ahead and kill the lights here, you get a little bit of a better look at the Wraith Prism, which, yes, it is an AMD stock cooler. Now, didn't you have a Hyper 212 on here? Why in the world would you switch to that? Because it looks cool. That's literally it. That's the only reason why I switched to this. Yeah, so I've always thought this cooler looked amazing ever since Ryzen first came out. And I got this as a gift, Christmas gift, just this year. So I've literally only had this on there like 3 or 4 days. I got this as a Christmas gift from Goo. So, I mean, big props to him. This thing is nice. Sure, it's maybe slightly louder than the Hyper 212 would have been. But I don't really care. Because it's cool. I mean, look at this. And so the RGB setup that I got going on here, it's really just R and like W. I know it looks really purple on camera. I tried adjusting the white balance, but couldn't really get it looking right. But yeah, you got the nice, just the red ring around the CPU cooler, of course, the bright red Radeon logo, and then I just got some accent LED strips, which are just set to white very dimly, just to cast a nice kind of glow on the motherboard. I know it's not the easiest thing to see, but it looks really good in person. The camera is not really doing this justice at all. That's sort of my thing with RGB, is I don't like big, bright, flashy lights. It's not that I don't like accent lighting for my computer. I think it looks awesome. I just hate when it's like rainbow vomit, like you saw when it first booted up. Yeah, not the greatest. And yes, I am using OpenRGB because all other RGB software sucks. And as for cooling, this is, again, the nicest fans I've ever owned. And these are the bottom tier Noctua fans. The Reduxes, which I guess use their older like bearing technology, they're still really, really quiet. The loudest thing in here is probably the GPU and the motherboard chipset fan. Again, another reason I probably should have went with B550, but yeah, I got 4 NF12s. That's what they're called, right? The 120mm versions. Got 3 intake on the front, 1 exhaust, and yeah, it's just nice having some premium, high-quality fans that don't whine, that are actually PWM. Yes, I was just running basic 3-pin, like, white LED fans in here for, like, a long time. They were kind of whiny, especially at lower RPMs, as, you know, just DC-controlled fans usually do. If you can, try to spend just a little bit extra money to get yourself proper PWM fans, even if they're not Noctuas. I know these are maybe slightly pricey, but, you know, there's a lot of good options out there. It really does make a difference. And so the cable management, sure, it's not the fanciest or anything, you know, this doesn't look the greatest, but it's the only thing I can do for my GPU, really. Some of the cables down here, and, you know, whatnot. Maybe they don't look the greatest, but hey, this is the most effort I've ever put into it, okay? Give me some credit here. Okay, also, I know it looks a little bit dusty in here. There's only so much you can do. It's not that bad, trust me, it's just some surface dust. Black just does an excellent job at showing off literally any tiny particle of dust. Ugh. Okay, so I know it looks bad, but, you know, it's organized as best as it realistically can. Having 3 hard drives down here, and also this fan controller, which needed SATA power, with this power supply, yeah, not the greatest config. You know, I actually do have stuff zip tied down, so it is organized, it just doesn't look like it. And hey, you can't tell from the front, so like, it doesn't even matter. I actually needed this Arctic, like, PWM fan hub thing because the motherboard actually doesn't have enough headers for 4 fans plus the CPU. So yeah, this thing was actually necessary. It's only about 10 bucks. If you need one of these, this thing works pretty well. It just takes SATA power in the bottom. You got the little PWM signal cable up there. You just plug that in a header on your motherboard and you can plug in 10 fans off this one hub, which is very useful. I don't know why you'd need 10 fans, but if you have one of those really stupid cases with like a dozen fans, then this might be for you. And then the 3 hard drives down here in descending order, if I remember them correctly. The top one is a 4 terabyte WD black drive, then the next one is a 1 terabyte WD blue, and below that is a 2 terabyte Seagate Barracuda. And that's mostly just hosting, like, I have like some extra games and whatnot put on there that I didn't put on the second NVMe. The reason I got the 2 NVMEs is that I was originally planning to run both Windows 10 and Linux, but the issue with running Linux is I just don't have much of a need for it on this computer because the editing software that I use is DaVinci Resolve. For whatever reason, you have to buy the paid version of Resolve to get any sort, like literally any sort of H.264 support in Linux. There's some sort of like copyright or maybe patent dispute. I don't know what it is. I looked into it a little bit, and if I wanted to edit in Linux with DaVinci Resolve, I'd have to convert everything. I'd have to, like, you know, transcode all my footage into like ProRes first. I don't want to do that. So, yes, I am Windows 10 coping. I've learned to tolerate Windows 10 enough. You know, I've done a lot of tweaks and whatnot to, you know, make it how I want it to look and not all that. And, you know, things like deferring of upgrades, uninstalling a lot of the bloatware that they pre-install in there. Although for all the Linux people out there, I've been running Linux on my laptop for probably about 5 years straight, and I've never gone back to Windows on my laptop. So I am a hardcore Linux guy, at least when it comes to laptop, which is actually the computer I do most of like my web browsing and stuff on. Yeah, it's not that I don't use Linux, it's just that I don't want to bother with it on this machine yet. Although, once Windows 10 becomes unusable, like once the support's gone and most software stops supporting it, that's the cutoff. That is my hard cutoff. I will never, ever, ever daily drive Windows 11. I've made that commitment to myself. Hopefully, in the next 4 to 5 years, Linux will be at a point where I can fully switch to it and not really have any concerns about it. And, you know, hopefully other video editors like Olive, I'm actually really excited to see where that project goes. And I also know Kdenlive has also been improving, or maybe I'll eventually figure out how to use DaVinci Resolve properly on Linux. I don't know. I'm just hoping that things are gonna get better in the future because, well, that's all you really can hope for, can't you? And then real quick here on the front, I just wanted to showcase the stickers that I got here. And yes, these are Geekenspiel stickers, and they look really, really cool. So we got the original like Windows 1.0 sticker, which I don't think there was ever actually a sticker like this that existed. I don't think they ever actually put that on computers, but hey, it looks cool and is one of the best looking Windows logos ever. I mean, like, tell me that doesn't look like something that could exist in the modern day. You know, you change the Windows font, that should be the new Microsoft logo, I'm just saying. Powered by ATI Radeon graphics because, well, I mean, it technically is. The graphics card still says on the back, ATI Technologies. It doesn't say AMD, it actually does say ATI Technologies. So, I mean, it's not wrong. It's still technically ATI. And then we have this Ryzen 5 sticker made to look like the old school like Athlon XP sticker. Looks very cool. Highly recommend looking at Geekenspiel's store. He's got a lot of cool stickers and whatnot. Yeah, he's just got a lot of cool looking stickers, and yeah, check him out if you want to add some just some neat little flair to your computer or whatever, you know. Alright, so talking about the actual performance of the machine a little bit, I did kind of overclock it. I messed around with PBO, which I never realized was actually kind of easy to do. There's only like 3 main settings you actually have to like worry about, and from that point on, the like PBO just kind of figures out where it should put the CPU clocks. I did a PBO override up to the max of 200 megahertz, which means that single core performance can actually go up to about 4.8 gigahertz. And then with the other PBO tweaks that I did, it's got the all core going up to around 4.4 gigahertz, which is pretty nice considering that normally all core is only like flat 4 gigahertz. So a 400 megahertz increase is actually really nice. And the CPU performance on here is actually really good. I was actually thinking about upgrading it to like a 5900X or maybe a 5800X 3D, but I kind of thought about it, and especially now that I've tweaked it, I really don't think I need anything faster than the 5600X. It really does do everything I need it to. Why spend more money? It's working perfectly fine for me. So, and like comparing like the Cinebench R20 scores, it's really impressive how far AMD has come with the Zen architecture. You know, it has some scores like pre-saved in there of like a Ryzen 7 1700X, so a first generation Ryzen chip from like 2017, and it's like dramatically faster in single threaded performance, which is just like wow. Just in 5 years there's been like, I don't want to say it was quite a 2x increase, but it's definitely a massive increase from Zen 1. So, and then like the multi-threaded score, this is a 6-core 12-thread CPU, and it easily beats the 8-core 16-thread 1700X in multi-threading. That's just crazy to think about, that it's a whole 2 cores less and it's still like significantly faster. So yeah, even though it kind of hasn't felt like there's been like massive, you know, increases and improvements in PC hardware the past like 5 to 6 years, there really has been if you really look at it. It just doesn't always feel that way. And of course the GPU, like leagues and bounds better than the 480. You know, not to hate on the 480 at all, but it's showing its age. It's not unusable by any means, but it's showing its age. And since I actually just recently got a new 1440p 144Hz monitor, which looks absolutely beautiful, by the way, for the price point. It's a LG Ultra Gear, like 27-inch nano IPS, whatever that means, display. It looks fantastic. I can definitely recommend it for the price point. It's around $300. Sometimes it goes on sale to around $270. And I actually just got that for Christmas as well from my mom, so thanks for that. I'll put up the 3D Mark, like Firestrike and Time Spy scores on the screen. It's a lot faster than what I was used to with the 480. You know, it's definitely a big improvement. You know, this really is a great card for the money. Kind of like the $300 used price point of this. It's really hard to beat right now. Like, super highly recommend it. Maybe don't get the reference one. You might be able to find one slightly cheaper from like a board partner. And so yeah, there's not really much else for me to talk about with this system. I mean, this is what I do all the editing on. This is what I do a lot of my gaming on. I mean, I do game on the PS5 quite a bit as well when I do PC gaming, but first-person shooters and stuff, they're never just, no, not with a controller. Ew. Always got to use mouse and keyboard for a first-person shooter. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with this machine. It's finally at a point where I'm like, yeah, this is nice. This is what I want out of my computer. And I think I'm going to stick with this. I don't really want to change anything for hopefully at least 2 years, you know, aside from maybe like storage upgrades or something. But yeah, I really want at least 2 solid years of not tampering with it at all. maybe even longer, because I really do see this as having a good amount of life left in it. So yeah, I know I normally do retro stuff on this channel, but I do like modern computers still. It's mostly just the software that I don't like. The actual hardware I still find to be quite fascinating, so I might do some newer, when I mean newer, like 2000s, maybe early 2010s stuff, but aside from that, probably not much newer. So yeah, you can expect some of those kinds of videos, maybe somewhat in the future. I am working on some other videos that are, you know, more retro and whatnot. Again, hopefully, if they don't keep failing on me. I'm actually writing a script right now for one video, which I don't often do scripted videos, but I kind of want to do one at least every couple months, you know, just to add, you know, a nice little bit of quality on there. Maybe do stuff with some more benchmarking and whatnot, but hoping new year, I want to put more effort into the channel. You know, I was going to this year, but again, unfortunately, things just kept failing on me. I kind of got demotivated from wanting to actually make videos. Hopefully that's going to change here in 2023. I mean, the channel has been growing quite a bit. It's been growing faster than it ever has before. So we're at like 1.6K subscribers. Anyways, just Happy New Year's, guys. Hope you guys have a good 2023. Hope to see you guys a bunch. Hopefully I'll get a lot more videos up in 2023. Again, I'm going to try to aim at least one video a month. Might not always hit it, but hey, I'm going to try, and that's what counts. So, thank you guys for watching the channel, and I'll see you guys later.